When you're standing in a workshop surrounded by the hum of a CO laser cutter, the first thing that pops into your head isn't the quality of the cut, it's whether the machine is staying cool enough to keep running smoothly. I get that hesitation a lot. You've invested in a decent laser, maybe even a small welding setup, and now you're staring at a chiller that promises to keep everything under control. The question is, does this industrial water chiller actually deliver the reliability you need, or is it another piece of equipment that just adds weight to your budget without solving the core problem? That's what I'm trying to sort out today, so you can decide if this is a sensible addition or an unnecessary expense. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the environment this chiller is built for. The CW6260 is marketed toward people who run CO laser cutters, engravers, and even small welding machines that generate a steady stream of heat. In a typical setup, the laser's tube and power supply can climb into the 80100C range after an hour of continuous operation. If you don't have a way to drain that heat, you'll see the output power dip, the beam become unstable, and you'll be forced to shut down to let the system cool off. That downtime can be a real cost, especially in a small production line or a hobbyist workshop that tries to squeeze as many hours as possible out of each day. The CW6260's main selling point is its cooling capacity, which the manufacturer describes as highly recommended for industrial laser applications. In practice, that translates to a capacity that can handle the heat load of a 60-watt CO laser without the water temperature spiking more than a few degrees over an hour. I've watched a few YouTubers hook similar chillers up to their cutters, and the water temperature chart they posted stayed nicely in the 25-30C band while the laser was running at full throttle. For a shop that needs to keep the laser operational for long cuts, think signage, intricate acrylic art, or batch engraving, that stability is a solid win. One feature that feels like a small but thoughtful addition is the intelligent temperature controller. Instead of a simple on-off relay, the unit monitors the inlet water temperature and modulates the pump speed accordingly. In real-world terms, that means you're not running the pump at full blast when the system is barely warm. The result is less wear on the pump bearings and lower electricity consumption. I've seen a couple of hobbyists mention that their electric bill dropped by a few cents a day after swapping a constant speed pump for a controller-driven one, which, while not dramatic, does add up over months of operation. Mobility is another area where the CW6260 tries to be practical. The chiller sits on a sturdy metal frame with caster wheels that lock in place. When you need to reconfigure a workshop layout, maybe you're moving the laser cutter to a different bench or swapping out a welding head, the wheels let you roll the entire unit without having to dismantle hoses or lift heavy machinery. It's not a forklift, but for a 200-kilogram chassis, being able to pull it with a single person's effort is a genuine convenience that some reviewers overlook. Now, let's get honest about where the chiller might fall short. The first thing that catches attention is the size. The unit is roughly the footprint of a small refrigerator, which means you need a dedicated floor space that can support both the weight and the heat exchange coil. In a cramped studio, that can be a deal breaker. I've heard a few DIY builders say they ended up having to trim a piece of shelving to accommodate the chassis, which adds some extra work before you even plug it in. Temperature stability is respectable, but the actual delta you'll see depends heavily on your ambient conditions. If your workshop is air-conditioned and stays around 20°C, the chiller will keep the water nicely chilled. However, if you're in a hotter climate and your room temperature climbs to 30°C or more, the water temperature will inevitably creep higher, especially during long runs. That's not a flaw of the unit itself, it's a limitation of any water-based cooling system confronting a high heat load in a warm environment. The practical takeaway is that you might still need additional ventilation or an external air conditioning system to truly maximize performance. Another consideration is the initial setup. The chiller comes with all the basic fittings: intake and outlet ports, a pressure relief valve, and a set of hoses, but you'll still need to splice it into your laser's existing water circuit. If you're not comfortable with plumbing, you might need to spend an extra hour or two figuring out the right hose diameters, ensuring there are no leaks, and testing the flow rate. That's not a huge hurdle, but it does add a small learning curve that first-time buyers should be aware of. So, who should consider buying the CW6260? If you